Okay, this is the Hawk again. I'm interviewing Ronnie Bateman, right? Bateman? Bartman. Okay, from USAF. What does USAF stand for?
The United Southern African Federation.
Okay, because it's very similar to mine. People get confused. Mine being United South African Coalition, so people they say F instead of, I've said it before myself. Anyway, can you tell me all about your organization, what it stands for, what you guys are planning, what you're thinking, what you think of the land reform?
Yeah, sure. I think, United Southern African Federation started about a year and a half ago. And obviously with the same ideas around secession. In order to find our people a place of freedom. And the reason we got involved was 25 years later, and we have to look at the political situation, nobody's doing it. So decided to, let's get involved. We were businessmen, but I could see my businesses being affected by BEE and going backwards, and I can't leave it to my daughters, and I can't leave it to my son, and I can't do anything because it's just, being taken away from us one step at a time. So I wanted to get involved and make something happen. So we started the United Southern African Federation in order to create a federated states to be able to do that, where every different ethnic minority could have what they wanted to have. In this process, we met the Khoi King, and we went down the road in July last year, of doing a secession attempt with the Khoi King and what he called the First Nation secession. Only to find that we did everything that we could do, but what we found is the government's going to ignore you. So if you do not have a military force in order to enforce your territory and close your borders, you've got no way of actually achieving a secession in the country. And that's obviously problematic because there's no ways as the small minorities who, if you put all minorities together, which are under about 20% of the country's population, there's no ways you're ever going to form anything that's going to be able to take territory at this time. So what we decided to do after that secession attempt failed was we looked at the whole thing and said, well, how do we do this? What do we do that enables us to get to a position where our people can get freedom? And one was always what Brian, who was a co-founder of himself, and is now the president of Zeitland. What he's always just wanted to do was create a parallel economy so that we could step away out of what we're currently facing, where all our funds are being embezzled and the corruption is rife, where our businesses are being taken away, where everything that you would normally have as a human right to self-determination is being taken away from us. So we said, well, let's do that, but without the land, because your land is what creates conflict. So if we do what is in essence a virtual nation, we can now create our government, we can create a cabinet, we can create our economy, we can put our businesses in Zeitland, we can get everything running without having to have territory at this stage. And obviously, at some stage, you're going to have, you give me 500,000 people behind Zeitland, I'll get us a territory. So that's how it fits. And then obviously the states, so Zeitland being one of the first states, every other minority group can create a state, and they can join, which will later on be USAF, which will be like the United States, and each state will then manage their own affairs, but obviously the United Southern African Federation would then have like the United States, except the states would have more autonomy than your states do.
In other words, United States of South Africa.
Of Southern Africa, yes, because it's not only for South Africa, but for Southern Africa, for the whole Southern African minorities.
Okay. So, with this land reform coming up now, and if they pass that land reform, the premises that nobody will own land. Nobody will have a house that they own. Nobody will hold a title to the house. Your banking system will collapse. Your farming system will collapse. Your entire economy is going to collapse. And yet the government's still pushing this agenda and this narrative down this road. They literally kicking the ball down the road. We have out and out proof that Malema and the government are paying people to kill farmers to push this narrative. And yet the IEC and the constitutional, the human rights organizations are not doing anything. What do you think?
No, look, I think that, so for exactly what you were saying is why we're going down this road. We want to protect our economy and our values. So we have one of the strong points of what we started this was that we've got ourselves our own virtual currency system, which means that right now, immediately, as our citizens come on board, we can collect taxes. Our finances are no longer part of the South African rand. We all know that the Zimbabwe currency fell by 75% in one day. That means if you had 100,000 rand the one day, the next day it was worth 25,000 rand.
Yeah.
And we need to protect our people from that. So we have this virtual currency system, works 100%, everybody's using it already, and that is in the cloud, and it's perfectly legal. It's a virtual currency. It's not recognized by the South African or any other government. So we can utilize that to protect our economy. When it comes to the land issue, I think at some stage, if we have enough people on board, and before this gets done, and they want to put their land into the sovereignty of the Zaytland Republic, well, then we're going to have legal battles with the government. So that's kind of like where we want to be.
I see. So hypothetically, from what I'm gathering, they've increased gasoline right now, or petrol, by 40%. Is that true?
Yeah, the prices keep going up. I don't know the percentages, but absolutely, everything keeps going up. The rand keeps falling against the dollar. It's being propped up by something. If I have a look at our economy, I equate it to an apple. It looks fantastic on the outside, but there's nothing left on the inside. And I don't know what's propping the skin up anymore before it implodes. It's only a matter of time before it actually falls apart totally.
So given what there's some information came through today, given what Zimbabwe did, they increased their fuel by astronomical amounts of money. Committed the place to an emergency, state of emergency. Started killing their own citizens. They gathered up the entire cabinet, ran to Russia, and then had Russia take over the country. That situation is actually developing in South Africa right now.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
given the fact that they increased gasoline, the prospect that Eskom will collapse on the 19th of May, I think it's the 19th of May. Let me look here. 6th of May. If the workers cut the power on that day, and you'll end up with no voting happening, an emergency, state of emergency, they pushing the money out so they can get the military out on the streets, which has been seen already.
Yeah.
And if they go to state of emergency, what are you guys going to do? What is the plan?
I think the whole country is in a little bit of trouble. You see, from the USAF perspective, it's a little bit too short for us because obviously we would want our cabinets and our government in place because that's going to be the next best step. As soon as there's anarchy here, I think there'd be a lot of people. As you know, if you get into a civil war or that kind of situation, then declaring your self-independence very easy. You don't have to go through the steps of a secession and the likes. So that becomes slightly different. But I don't think anybody here is prepared for a war. I don't think a civil war is where we want to go. I think we're going to lose too many lives. Hence why we're doing the virtual side, and hopefully we can see this through before the anarchy achieves. We've got plenty of committees functioning already. It's unbelievable the speed that it's going at. I mean, we've already got a radio station starting on Thursday. We've got a TV station starting on the 24th of May. We've got guys working on renewable energy. We've got guys working on municipalities. We've got guys working on healthcare. We've got guys working on finances. So it's really fantastic to see the amount of energy being put in by our people for what we're doing. I've seen all these other groups.
So what is the boundary of Zeitland?
Okay, so once again, you see there is no territory. It's a virtual nation at this stage. So we're not looking at land. We're looking at all the other aspects. We're taking the business, trade, economy, creating ourselves a cabinet, creating ourselves a business, getting our people up and running. So whatever happens, they're ready.
I see. So it's not a land grab. It's just a virtual government.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Because initially, what I was told a year ago that USAF was all about cutting the cape off from the rest of the country, and I
correct. That was with the Khoisan King, as I said earlier.
And I had spoken to a few of your members. I won't mention any names, and I was asked the question of what will happen to the rest of the country, and was told collateral damage. And I don't know.
Well, you see, well, that's not exactly what was said, but you see, this is the whole problem. And what we found with a lot of the difficulties in going that route, and why we're doing it this way, is because what you found is that the people who are in Johannesburg, which is probably where most of our members sit right now, don't really want to leave their home, don't really want to leave their business, don't really want to move if possible. Not only that, the problem is, where do they move to? So if you're saying you're taking over the Cape, and I'm up here in Johannesburg, how do I leave my home, my business, my job? What do I go do in Cape? Where do I go? Where do I get a house? Where do I get a job? You understand? And this was we found was the resistance into that secession attempt of the king, which we learned everything we needed to learn about secessions on. It's the people don't want that.
Yeah.
And hence we found a far better uptake with what we're doing now. I mean, we started 2 weeks ago, we declared the Republic independent. And we decided to do that when we had 10,000 signed up citizens. We're now in 17.5 within 2 weeks. That's not bad going.
Okay, so it's not a Cape secession, is what the story goes. I mean, there's a lot of bad blood between the Cape Party, the USAF, and the Freedom Front. There's bad blood.
Now look, we have some bad blood with a couple of groups who keep accusing USAF of either having a fraudulent scheme or what they call a pyramid scheme or things like that. But it's individuals within a few groups who believe in fear politics. So in other words, to keep the groups and their people around them, it's about don't let the sheep leave the kraal because the bad wolves are out there. Never mind the fact that we've done audit after audit after audit on the banking system and everything else we do, and every time it's clean, that's no interest in, because obviously this is politics. We're not politicians. We don't badmouth them. We hope they get it right because it's for our people, but we're just doing what we do.
Hypothetically, there's a civil war.
Yes, hypothetically, very, very soon I think there'll be a civil war if we don't get this right.
My numbers are close to 60,000 members ready to fight the government. These are minimum numbers. These are groups.
Oh, that's fantastic.
These are groups all over the place. But then again, you also have the U.S. military sitting on the borders. You have a task group cruising the coastline, and situation with China right now is not good. It's not good. From what I'm gathering, and these numbers are just from different groups that we are getting information from. The problem is you have a third force inside the government. Right now, the ANC is split into 4 groups. There's the right wing, the left wing, the Zuma group, and the Ramaphosa group. And they're all fighting each other.
Yeah.
And the rats are leaving the ship, and they're all blaming each other and killing each other and doing all kinds of stuff. Malema is ANC. The EFF is the ANC. It's a fact because of Absa Bank. So is the BLF. They're all one and the same. It's all the same.
Absolutely.
The whole thing's the same. The problem you have is with all this corruption going, even with the EFF, they're going to have an issue very soon where they're actually imploding on themselves. My problem is, if they decide they're going to completely lose power and they decide to go to martial law, there will be a civil war. And the thing is, what the whites don't realize is the blacks are going to help them. And I'll tell you why.
The whites, the blacks now help the whites?
Yes.
And who? Okay.
Okay. Reason being is there's a bunch of Christian black parties that have come forward. They stated they're sick and tired of what's going on. They do not want this.
Sure.
The ACDP claimed it as well. The ATM claimed it as well. The ACO claimed it. They're all Christian parties.
Yes.
They're all close to 1 million followers in their Christian churches. Each one of them.
Yes.
They're all sick of it. They're tired of this nonsense. They're tired of the corruption. And they all want this to stop. Hypothetically,
But don't you prepare to say that offline, though, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
You know, none of these groups are standing up and saying there's enough of this. You know,
They are.
none of them stand up and challenge the ANC.
No. Go to my YouTube channel and look up all the interviews I've done in the last week with the ATM, the ACO, the ACDP, and I'm soon to have COPE on as well.
Okay.
They're all complaining. They're all saying, we're sick of this. We will not tolerate it anymore. And as soon as we get into power, bringing the death sentence back, we will round up all these corrupt politicians and put them in jail, and they will have hard labor. They're all saying it.
That'll be a brilliant day.
And they're all Christian parties.
Yeah, so I think this election, as you said, if it takes place, it is going to be a really interesting part for us, let's put it that way. Because if nothing changes in this election, if the ANC is still in power, if the status quo is still the status quo with no group being able to in any way influence the self-determination of our people, then what we did declaring the Zaitlan Public independent was the right thing to do at the right time. That gives us ability by international law to do things differently compared to either a political party or any other group inside the country. We now don't fit within the law of the land, we fit within the international.
Okay. So
it gives us ability.
Yeah, according to the International Criminal Court of The Hague, they filed a motion on Malema for hate crimes.
Okay.
I warned them that I will see them in the criminal court in The Hague. As long as I live, I will make it my mission to put them there.
Mm-hmm.
They will be held responsible for these crimes. These farm murders were deliberate. These are
absolutely.
The document stating from 1983 states that the ANC would do this, and they escalated it the minute Mandela died. Mandela was part of that. He was complicit in it, everything. Having said that, I suspect, and I am almost 100% sure there will be a coalition of Christian parties. If this election takes
and I think it must be. There has to be. You know, if us Christians do not stand up now and start fighting back, we're just going to get ourselves into big trouble, and that's not the way we need to stand with the Lord. You know, we need to take our faith, and we need to stand up, and we need to walk the path.
Okay, so let me just reiterate this with you, or clarify this with you. So there is no land. There's no secession from the Cape. It's all just a virtual government.
It's an absolute virtual nation at this stage, with its own virtual currency, which enables us to create our own government, take our economy away from this current regime, and do all our business and trade outside of this regime. We know that the few percent of us pay most of the taxes in the country.
Yes,
so you can sound like understand where we're going.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. And given the fact that the welfare system right now there is ridiculous, that it's unsustainable. It's unsustainable.
No, there's nothing that's sustainable. There's nothing. There's nothing that's going to work. Eskom can't sustain itself. The railways can't. The South African Airways can't. There's not one SOE that is able to stand on its own without collapsing very shortly. The healthcare services is ridiculous. So if you go to a government hospital, the chance of you, especially as a white person, coming out alive is slim. We can't be there. We'll do this all ourselves. We'll create our own healthcare system, everything. Within the next 2 months, we'll be up and running.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the interview, and I'll put the message out. Hopefully, you get support.
Yeah, we will. I think people are starting to realize it's a little bit daunting to get your mind around a virtual nation, and people can't grasp it. In essence, it's like a parallel economy, but it's difficult to grasp.
My question to you is, I've had this question asked many times. Is there a way to take my money out of the country and have it safe enough that when I need it, I can get to it?
Okay, so currently what we do within our virtual currency is as soon as you put your rands into our virtual currency, we automatically link it to the dollar. So you're now based on the dollar. So if you put the money in today and the rand falls tomorrow, your money is safe. What we do then is we take 80% of that and we buy Kruger rands. The reason we buy Kruger rands is we don't have to pay VAT on it. And that we store at a storage facility at this moment in time inside South Africa, but that won't be for long. We'll be doing it outside of South Africa. And yes, then we do have a transactional version of what we do, that we can take our money out offshore, yes.
Okay. So people can contact you and do that.
Correct.
Okay.
Craig, I'd like to thank you for the interview, and I'd like to thank you for all you're doing for us. I really appreciate how you're standing up and the things you're trying to achieve. Any help that we can get, obviously, is important for our people. And I know it takes a lot for you to do this for like we do it for nothing. But at the end of the day, you will be blessed.
All we want to do is stop what's going on.
We thank you.
We're glad to stop what's going on. All right, thanks for
the
interview, and I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Doug.
Okay, take care.
Okay.
Yeah, cheers.
Thanks, bye.